Hey, I'm Jana, the little sister.
And I'm Jeff, her big brother. Welcome to Sibling Rivalry, a podcast about our favorite sport, baseball.
This week on Sibling Rivalry Baseball, we're going to college.
Is that college with a K? Regardless, here's the SRBB headlines with an H.
The wild horse Yasiel Puig, who hasn't played in the major leagues since 2019, has signed a deal with the Veracruz Eagle of the Mexican League.
Former Vice President Walter Mondale has died. Mondale was the 42nd Vice President, serving with Jimmy Carter. He died at his home in Minneapolis on April 19th, surrounded by family. He was 93.
Tonight, the most awkward part of the NFL draft is back. Roger Goodell, the fully vaccinated NFL commissioner, will be able to hug all the players. Trevor Lawrence of Clemson could be Goodell's first victim.
Greg Jacobs, also known as Shock G and Humpty Hump, co-founder of the Digital Underground, has died. He was 57. Shock G produced Tupac's debut album, Tupacalypse Now, and co-wrote LL Cool J's Mama Said Knock You Out. No official cause of death has been released. You can find these and past week's headlines on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com. Remember to rate and subscribe wherever you listen, and tell a friend to listen to the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast. Frustration, especially over the weekend, with our two favorite teams. However, I think as we came out of Sunday baseball, we came out of it in different places. And we'll talk about all that in just a little bit. But for now, we're going back to college. We're going back to college. I never went to college. So how can I go back to where I never been?
I don't know, but you can watch college baseball.
Where? There's not like the college baseball channel. And I even look on I get the Pac-12 channel on my cable system, and I can't even find it there most of the time. It's really hard to find a game, a college game. And I mean, they pop up every once in a while. And now that there's no other college sports or bigger college sports being on that they're going to show, but I can find college volleyball easier than I can find baseball for some reason.
Then I think that's part of the problem, that we want more people to get excited about baseball, especially MLB. They're doing all this crazy stuff that we've been talking about. And yet, what could really get people excited is watching college baseball, but you can't find it anywhere unless maybe you live close to a college that has a baseball team.
Right. Or you've got somebody who's going there, someone you know. It's just it's not as accessible. But really, baseball, while you can see a local team, how many, we talked about this, how many teams are blacked out? So I think that the problem is less about these things they want to do to the game and more about access. But that is for another time. Right now, let's take a look at college baseball. That's the other thing with college baseball is, unlike the pros, there's a finite amount of teams. There's 30 baseball teams. It's a little easier to follow those teams. It's like why a lot of people follow football. It requires less of a commitment. It's once a week. Sure, there's, 30 some odd teams, but it's only once a week that you have to follow your team. And everybody plays on pretty much the same day, with the exception of a Thursday and a Monday, but all the other games are on Sunday, so it's easy to watch. With college, you have an infinite amount of teams because college is infinite, apparently. College goes forever. Just ask some parents who are still paying for their kids. How long was Tommy Boy in college?
7 years.
7 or 8 years, yeah. He was there long enough to get 2 degrees.
Yeah, and to be called a doctor.
Yes, he could have been Dr. Tommy Boy.
The cool thing about college baseball is every June in Nebraska is the College World Series. And I've always wanted to go to Nebraska specifically to watch the College World Series. No other reason, but specifically. Don't get to go to Rosenblatt Stadium. It's now like TD America Stadium. But college baseball and the College World Series has so much drama. It's exciting, and you have teams that you've never heard of. It just is like all of the good feels of baseball wrapped up in Nebraska.
Of all places, who knew that it would be in Nebraska? Then that's where you go to find that is Nebraska.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. There is something, pretty cool about the whole College World Series things. It's really like it's baseball version of March Madness, June Madness, I guess.
Yeah.
June Jubilee. I don't know. That doesn't work as well, but um, and the way that it's set up this year is going to be a little bit different with the College World Series, because normally when they do the selection show for the 64 teams they're going to play, the next day they say, and here's where they're going to play at. It's not something that was set up a long time before. And usually it's whoever's the number one seed of that particular area, they're going to play at their stadium. So that way they have home field advantage, that being the number one seed. This year they have to do it differently because, well, you know why. COVID.
Pesky
that
COVID.
All of the locations will be out a week or two before the actual field is announced.
The 64 teams will be announced on Memorial Day, but they'll know where they're going to be going for the regionals and the super regionals.
Super.
Yeah, it's like super kindergarten.
Super kindergarten with a K?
With a K.
So maybe it would help if we kind of got a look at who's potentially going to this, the conferences we see in the other sports, football, basketball, also, and the big schools in the country tend to have decent baseball teams as well. Now, that's one thing that I really like about college baseball over the other sports is that you might have some team like Coastal Carolina, who isn't any kind of a big powerhouse anywhere else, and most people never heard of them. But back in like 2016, I think it was, they won the College World Series. So you'll see teams that aren't necessarily big names pop up. Now, as I look over the current top 25, I don't see any of those teams.
In college baseball, just like college football, the SEC is on top.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that. You might think someplace else would be. But yeah, that's crazy that the SEC, at one point, almost all of the top 10 was SEC. The top 5 was all SEC teams, and the top 10 was, I think, all but maybe one. Louisville was in there, and maybe Texas. The rest of them were all SEC teams.
Yeah, there's 7 SEC teams in the current rankings, with Arkansas being number 1 and Vanderbilt is number 2. And those two teams are really interesting to watch because they only are separated by 1 game. So Arkansas's got a 32-7 record and Vanderbilt is a 31-7 record. So they are battling it out. The Razorbacks, though, are on top, and they've been on top for several weeks now.
Taking over for Vanderbilt, who was on top before
that.
Yeah,
I think they've just been going back and forth throughout the season. You have other conferences that, like Conference USA, is Southern Miss and Charlotte and Old Dominion, schools like that you don't normally hear a lot about.
Old Dominion, normally
4.
women's basketball.
Yes.
They've always been huge in that. But yeah, that's when I saw them on there, I was a little surprised.
Growing up watching the College World Series, the teams you always saw were UCLA, USC, Fullerton,
Texas
always.
Yeah,
Texas
has
is
been
in there.
Texas is the number 3 team, but it's also the most appearances in the College World Series.
But you have teams in the top 25, like East Carolina, that they've never been to the College World Series. So that's a team I want to root for. You also have a team like Notre Dame, who the last time they appeared in a College World Series was in 2002, and before that, 1957. So there's always a lot of drama in the College World Series.
I noticed the other day that there's a couple of those teams like Charlotte that's up at number 15 that they weren't expected to be in this place. They were supposed to be towards the bottom of Conference USA, but they have risen to the occasion and they're playing real well. Pittsburgh's another one that I think was projected to be at the bottom, not only of their division in the ACC, but of the ACC, period. Actually are in a good spot. Looks like they're probably going to find their way into the playoffs.
We also have Gonzaga, who has not ranked this season, but is now number 21 in the rankings. So I guess they are making up for their basketball team showing in the Final Four in that final game, although that was a really good final game. And they are in there, but they're the only team from their conference. So that's when you ask about college baseball and what's exciting about it is you have these teams, especially from schools you just never heard of, or maybe they're, only hear of in women's basketball or lacrosse or something like that. And
right. Something that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
Track and field or something.
Right. I will say that I have found my new favorite baseball name. This guy is a pitcher for Vanderbilt, and his name is Kumar Rocker. I love that name. What a perfect name for a pitcher.
Oh, yeah.
But this year, or this season at Vanderbilt, he is 9-1. He has a 1.55 ERA, a 0.734 WHIP, which is walks plus hits per inning pitched, and he's the number 1 prospect. Now, before, we had seen his teammate, who does have connections to the MLB through his father, Jack Leiter, who's also at Vanderbilt, and he was undefeated, but he just got his first loss, and so now he's 7-1 with a 1.54 ERA, 0.803 WHIP, and the number 2 prospect, both right-handed pitchers, and the number 3 prospect is also a pitcher from Texas with a 6-1 record.
Yeah, right now it looks like from some of the mock drafts that they've been doing, and of course the MLB draft will be over All-Star Weekend. Some of the projecting right now is Jack Leiter at number 1, Kumar Rocker at number 3. So the Vandy guys have that. And then the odd thing is the other 3 in the top 5 are all shortstops, and they're all high school kids.
Right. That was a big surprise to me. You're going through the prospects, and then you see Vanderbilt, Texas, and then
Jesuit Prep High School in Texas,
Right. Yeah.
East Lake High School in California, Winder Barrow High School in Georgia, just to name a few.
Yeah, just a few. Now it'll be interesting to see where these kids will end up, these high school kids, if they will go along with, into the MLB, or will they go on to one of these teams?
And when you look, a lot of them, you can see that players have been drafted twice. They got drafted out of high school if they were good enough, and then they went to college, and then they were drafted once they were available to be drafted in college. So there's quite a few. Jack Leiter's one of them, Kumar Rocker, another one. Both of them were that. I looked too, I was curious as to, as of the 2021 opening day rosters in the MLB, which school had the most players on MLB rosters? Any guess?
I want to say Vanderbilt.
It is. Vanderbilt has 11 players, 2 Dodgers.
Yes.
Can you name them?
I know I can name one, Walker Buehler.
Yep. And the other one just went on the IL.
David Price.
Yes, David Price. Dansby Swanson would be another guy that from the Braves who was a Vandy. Mike Yastrzemski from the Giants. There's a few others. 11. They have 11 players. Louisiana State has 7.5 because Alex Bregman's not tall enough to be considered a whole player. But they've got like Kevin Gossman, Aaron Nola were both LSU Tigers. Pete Alonso with the Mets is from Florida. They have 7. And the list goes on. Nate Lowe, Mississippi State, who's been a big RBI guy for the Rangers, who we'll talk a little bit about later in the podcast. So there's quite a few guys that go, UCLA, Griffin Canning of the Angels,
Trevor Bauer,
and Garrett Cole, who was a teammate of Trevor Bauer's. All UCLA guys. Cal State Fullerton had 6. You mentioned them earlier as guys that you always see. They've won a couple of College World Series. Kurt Suzuki, current Angel. Dylan Floro, former Dodger. And I don't know why they didn't list him, but there's another Dodger who went to Fullerton.
Justin Turner.
Exactly. But he wasn't listed on there. So there's,
they want to keep that on the down low.
I'm surprised he didn't go to Long Beach, really, because he's from Long Beach. He could have went with Jared Weaver to Long Beach and being a dirtbag. Does he look like a guy could be a dirtbag, Justin Turner?
Yeah, I think so. The College World Series was not held last year because of COVID. So the reigning College World Series champs from 2019.
Vanderbilt.
Yes. Who could guess? Vanderbilt beat Michigan in Game 3 to win the series. Now, one thing about the College World Series is you will be able to watch it, and it's usually always on ESPN, and I wouldn't think that anything different, but it's really, if you love baseball and especially if your team is frustrating the heck out of you and you want to take a step away, watch College World Series, because I may be doing that. Taking a step away.
Now, I have a question for you. Who do you think, we've already mentioned that Texas has made the most appearances in the playoffs, in the College World Series playoffs. Who's won the most? They've made it to the playoffs in the series 21 times. I think Texas has won it 7 of their 30 plus times in. This team even went back to back to back.
Wow. Back to back to back.
Yeah, maybe more. And I can't find my page that has all of the details on it, but I can tell you this one I know very well.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Mm, I don't know. I give up.
Well, they're not in the mix this year,
Okay.
although uh, some of their conference foes are going to probably make it. Out of the Pac-12, the University of Southern California has won 12 College World Series titles,
Wow.
more
I did
than
not
half
realize that.
of their visits to the tournament. They have won the whole thing. This
Wow.
year, this year they're like 18 and 16. Not really. They're not ranked. They hold the record for the most championships. One player of note to help us transition is from the number 11 team, Texas Tech. His name is Dylan. And up until, in fact, if not for his brother, we wouldn't really know how to say his last name. And his name is Noisy, Neuse. So Dylan Noisy from Texas Tech may soon be joining his brother in the majors in Sheldon Noisy, who has been making a little bit of noise for the Dodgers.
It's time for Dodger baseball.
So a couple weeks ago, the question about the Dodgers was, will they ever lose? And now the question feels more like, will they ever win again? This was a frustrating week for both the Dodgers and the Angels, but there was coming out of Sunday's games, I think the Dodger fans had a little different feel than the Angels fans did.
The Dodger fans are frustrated. They're cussing. They're fussing. And they're back talking. The Dodgers started out in Seattle for 2 games. They split the series with Seattle. The first game, nothing really notable. They lost. Second game.
Could that be coming out of that Padres series that they just had been so emotional and so up for that one? Because it was kind of a playoff atmosphere. There was a letdown. They get to Seattle. It's a different vibe. They kind of relax a little bit, and Seattle's been a good team lately.
Right. Seattle has been a good team. And I think they did have that, I guess, Monday hangover from the series with the Padres.
Somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
They lost the first game 4-3. So it wasn't, a major blowout. The second game they won 1-0. The highlight of that game was Julio Urias's 11 strikeouts. He just had a fantastic game. So they were coming home. They had Wednesday off because Thursday the Padres were in town for a 4-game set. And I don't know how you feel about this, but this Padres Dodgers, the media is hyping it. Can we have Padres Dodgers 162 games? I've heard that. No, we can't, because there will be a lot.
Enough.
Yeah, 19 is way more than enough. I was so glad after this series that they won't see them again until June. Like, thank goodness. I don't want to look at the Padres. I don't want to see anything about them. I don't care. Go away. That's how I felt. And in fact, I think I texted you Friday's game, and I said, if they lose, I'm not going to watch Saturday and Sunday's game. Well,
yes.
Of course I watched Saturday and Sunday's game. It's like what in that movie Brokeback Mountain, I can't quit you.
No, you can't. It's hard.
I try. Sometimes where I just say I'm not going to watch the game, but I'll follow it on my phone. on on the MLB app.
I try to do that, but it only works if I absolutely can't watch it. I either have to like completely block all of it out, or I'm gonna watch.
Yeah. It's just the Dodgers in this Padres series, 32 out of 139. So 139 at bats, 32 hits, 32. And the game that they won, they had 12 hits. But in the first game, 6 for 32, they 4 for 29 in game 2. Game 3, they won 12 for 35. And then in game 4, 10 for 43, which is a little bit better, but that went into extra innings. And that was a disaster of a game. And that was a game where I think we both said, I'm done. I turned it off. And what's funny is I put my phone down. I turned it upside down. I was not even going to look at it. And we started watching this other show. Planet Head and I were watching this show. But I look over and he's like, oh, when is this game going to be over? He's complaining. But while we're watching this other show that was way more interesting than the Dodgers game, he's got his phone looking for the score. And I told him, I said, they're going to lose. And if they lose, they deserve to lose. And I was done. Because every week I sit here and I'm like, the Dodgers, and they did this. Oh, I'm sorry about your Angels, but the Dodgers did this. And this time I am just irritated with, you can't really be irritated with the starting pitching. Starting pitching is really good. They've looked good. And Sunday night's game, Dustin May looked great. And the Dodgers, their hitters crapped all over his game. Yeah, they really
well, that's
did.
one thing that I'd been noticing is that recently, and obviously there's been some injury issues that have popped up, but in the past, when they called somebody up, somebody would always come through. Now, technically, one did, but not like consistently. He had really one little moment of glory, and that was the guy we talked about, his brother, Sheldon Noisy.
The CPA of the Dodgers.
The CPA, Sheldon Lynn Noisy. Noisy is German slang to eat on the sly. So you're a closet eater. What was that song, the Junk Food Junkie? At night, I get in my closet and I unlock the lock or put the combination lock on, and I open it up and I have a Twinkie. But in the daytime, I'm Mr. Natural. German slang to eat on the sly. But this has shown, even with him, it's shown that poor pinch hitting. Nobody's been coming in there. And the guys that they have, Edwin Rios, who's had some moments in the past, has had no moments. He's 0 for. Matt Beatty, 0 for. Oh, he's got one hit. You start looking, you see these. I think during the series, he had a couple of walks. So he actually didn't look as bad as Rios or some of the others. The infield depth. Gavin Lux was on the IL. When you've got to move Max Muncy to second base because you don't have anybody else, and not that he can't play second base, but he's your best option, then you know something's going on. And yes, some of it is the issues with the injuries, but I think a lot of it is they're lacking. It's lackluster.
It is. You have the starting pitching coming out, doing a good job. And then the bullpen, again, there are injuries in the bullpen. We haven't seen Tony Gonsolin yet this season. Hopefully that will be soon, maybe the middle of May. Joe Kelly, still, we have not seen Joe Kelly. And even with Joe Kelly, you'd never know what you're going to get with Joe Kelly.
Yeah, he's a box of chocolates.
But you want to have him there as another option. Brusdar Graterol is back, but his ERA is like 20 right now, and he's not. And then you have Jimmy Nelson, who they bring out, and you have no confidence in Jimmy Nelson, where he's wild. Sometimes he looks really good, but you know that there's always going to be a wild pitch. Something's going to happen. And his performance over the weekend was a Jimmy Nelson performance. And you hate to say that about your team. I really do. And it's frustrating, though, because there's no offense. They're stranding guys on base to the point where it's bases loaded. The other night, I think it was Sunday night's game, Luke Raley, who really needs to be back in Arizona, but he's there because of injuries. And I don't have anything, he seems to be a good player, but not at the plate. He has no patience, and he could have. The game was tied 7-7. I think the count was 3-2. He swung at a pitch that the catcher had to reach up over his head to get, and he struck out. He could have been the hero and walked in the run, and they would have won the game. But when he's in there, DJ Peters, the same way. DJ Peters is back at the alternate site. They look like they're not ready. They don't have the patience in the box. Look at Max Muncy. He's walked 23 times. 23 times.
Well, and in that game, 5 times,
yes.
tying a record. Greg Brock in 83 and Dusty Baker did it in 80 against the Padres, walking 5 times. There's a few others, but those are the most recent. And I heard an interesting thing. Charlie Steiner mentioned it on the radio broadcast, that the Dodgers had not given up a 6-run lead in like more than a decade.
Yeah.
I understood them having less motivation, I guess, against Seattle because it didn't really play the way that playing the Padres did. But I expected more, and it really was like a lazy weekend at home.
It really was.
Yeah, they should have been out mowing the yard or doing the other things around the house, but they didn't. They just looked like they just weren't interested. Now, the one thing, and you can't do this often, is they still have the best record in baseball. And the Padres are 3rd in the West. So the Padres are going to get up for the Dodgers because they're trying to build some sort of a rivalry there. And there really is that regional rivalry because they're 100 miles apart. But it's early. It's 20 games into the season, or a little over 20 games into the season. Does it make it any better from the fans' viewpoint? No. Because we're all yelling at the TV, wondering, why did you bring him in? Why did you bring this guy in? Kinley through the week had a couple of really good outings. So you can't put that on him per se, but the bullpen has shown Corey Knebel is out indefinitely. We don't know what's going on with him. Does that mean that the Dodgers are going to start looking for trade partners to maybe pick up? And now the problem is you've used so many of these guys. Is somebody going to want to trade with you for a decent reliever for Luke Raley or DJ Peters when they're not showing that they can do it up here? One home run does not make a good trade acquisition, and maybe he will be. One question that came up to me was, what if, based on how this team is going and who's doing what if Justin Turner is a Blue Jay right now or a Brewer? What if he's not here? Because he's been the best Dodger so far this season.
He really has. You even think about, you look at the lineup, you have Mookie Betts leading off. But even Mookie is not Mookie-like. He has glimmers of where he gets on base.
He's batting in the hundreds.
Yeah. And he's trying to do things, but if you're the leadoff and you strike out, or you get on base, but the guys behind you don't get you around, then it doesn't help. And that's what's happening. The Dodgers bats are just quiet. And there's also some things too. We look at Dave Roberts, who through the World Series finally, I think, did a good job of managing. And now he's back to, well, this matchup is a better matchup. Where I think it was Sheldon Noisy who was going to hit, but instead it was either Rayleigh or Peters that they pinch hit for because of the matchup. But Sheldon Noisy had just hit a home run, and 3 days earlier he had hit a home run off the same pitcher.
Right. So what's the better matchup? The guy who's seen him before and dunked on him, or somebody who hasn't seen him yet or hasn't shown that they've got, they're in any kind of groove or rhythm. And I know you can't get into those things unless you're playing. However,
and
games like this.
Something about the dunking. So the Dodgers pat their heads when they are getting a hit. And it could be one hit and they'll look over. Now, sometimes they'll do barrels are overrated. That's
when
usually
they shake their hands.
They shake their hands. And that's usually Chris Taylor because he's always getting those type of hits. But this was something that Gavin Lux and I think Mookie Betts, maybe they kind of together said, well, we're going to pat our heads when we dunk on the pitcher. So, okay, yeah, you can do that when you are getting hit after hit after hit. But when you get one hit and you're on first base and you do that, and then after that, no one gets a hit, don't do it anymore. It's stupid.
You're 0 for 4, then you got a hit. Now you think you dunked on the pitcher. You're 1 for 5. It doesn't work out.
There's people in the stands doing it.
I saw that now.
It's so annoying. I just want to say, if any Dodger player is listening, stop patting your head. Unless you get back to that form where you are just hitting and you're batting around, or you are dunking on the pitcher then, or you're hitting back-to-back home runs. Okay, but getting a single and patting your head, no.
Talking about what's going on in the stands, there was a cool moment or moments in the stands when one fan caught not one, but 2 home run balls. And it made me think maybe he should be playing the outfield because he's able to play him. He did the old Wrigley Field way and threw back Fernando Tatis Jr.'s home run, but he kept CT3.
Yeah, well, I think that is a good choice there. I would not keep Tatis's home run ball either.
I would have kept them both. And I would have said, look what I got. Because really, when you look at this series, you can't really point out, and no Dodger really stands out.
No.
But one Padre does. And that would be, as much as we hate it, if it was one of our guys, we'd be having a parade too. And that's Tatis Jr. He broke out of a slump. He still is the error king, but offensively, he just blew up. He's leading MLB in home runs per at bat. Every 8.1 at bats, he hits a home run. In this 2 games in a row, he hit 2 home runs. And one of them, one day, was like even more special.
Yeah. His dad, who was playing for the Cardinals, hit. Now, this is.
Of course he was.
Great. This, of course, had to be the Cardinals. This is even crazier to me. 2 grand slams. 2 grand slams. I don't even think, have the Dodgers even have a grand slam this season?
Not that I recall.
I don't think so. This guy, Fernando Tatis Sr., hits 2 on April 23rd, 1998, I want to say. But April 23rd is really the date we need to look at, because his son, who plays for the Padres, comes to Dodger Stadium and hits 2 home runs
Not grand slams.
Not grand slams, but
Luckily.
2 home runs. Yeah. And the thing about Tatis is he hits 2 home runs off of Kershaw, Cy Young Award winner, 2 home runs off of Trevor Bauer, Cy Young Award winner.
Yeah, the next day he did that. And then he hit a 5th one for good measure on the day after that.
Yeah. Just to,
so he 5 home
out.
runs, 5 home runs in that. He ends up. And now if I'm Fernando Tatis Jr., I'm probably a little ticked off right now. Because while I got NL Player of the Week, I have to share it. And so he's co-NL Player of the Week with his 385, 5 home run, 4 stolen bases, 7 RBIs, 9 runs scored, back-to-back 2 homer games.
Yeah.
And he's
only off
co-winner.
the charts. Now, I know a lot of people this is exactly what baseball needs. We need Fernando Tatis Jr. And he can be exciting to watch. But I will say, and this would go for the Dodgers too. Any team, if they did this, it would drive me nuts. Stutter step at third base. Just run the freaking bases. Why are you stutter stepping at third base? This is how irritated I am this week.
I gotcha. I had those. I remember last season being like, I didn't even want to do the show because I didn't want to talk about the Angels and what they were doing.
It's just fine. I think he is exciting to watch, even when he makes his errors. That's even more exciting. But run the base. Why are you doing a little, I don't know, dance step there? Salsa? I don't know what he's doing.
Well, he's excited, and he does have a supporter in those actions from Trevor Bauer.
Right. And I get that. You can celebrate, but to me, celebrate, put your, I don't know. The whole
everybody's
thing.
going to do it differently. And if you had seen him do that against the Giants, maybe you don't care as much. If you were
I may not care as much, but it would still irritate me because, again, I go back to it's probably grandpa influence. Just run the bases. Come on.
I guess too, Trevor Bauer is quick to say that because of all of his antics. So I'm a hypocrite if I'm calling him out because I didn't see it exactly, but I know that there was a lot of talk about Tatis doing the covering his eye after he won a home runs off of Trevor Bauer.
I think it was his first one.
Trevor Bauer had to give it to him. He's like, hey, I do that. He did it back to me because he beat me. Trevor Bauer was easy to say, like with Machado. Machado, I guess he's my daddy because he owns me. He's not afraid to say, they got me. Go on, flip the bat, dance around the bases. It's fair. And that there's no reason for me to throw at him or anybody to throw at him later up for celebrating.
However, there is a controversy that does involve Mr. Fernando Tatis Jr. Was he peeking at signs on one of his home runs against Bauer? Did he look down at Will Smith and see the signs? It certainly looked like he did.
Well, and like they said, he can't see what fingers he put down, and he wouldn't necessarily even know because they switch them up.
Right.
So, normally it used to be 1 is a fastball, 2 is a curve, 3 is a slider, whatever, 4 is a changeup. But now they're and they go through the series. But he did see, it does look like on that he looks back, he sees where Smith is setting up at, and where he pats his inner thigh to, hey, I want it on the outside in this case. It does look like he looks back, takes a glance, and where the ball was and how he hit it, it doesn't seem reasonable that he didn't have an idea of where it was.
Right.
Or where it was going to be. Of course, his teammates, Eric Hosmer was one of the first ones to come out and go, no, he doesn't do that. That's not his thing. And maybe he didn't. Or maybe he wasn't necessarily trying. Now, if I've got to look at cheating or sign stealing, not cheating, sign stealing, him kind of glancing back, I know it's an unwritten rule that you don't do that, but there's a bigger, and I'm kind of surprised he didn't get in trouble for it because he's not using any electronics, and we know that that's okay.
Yes, that is okay, but he
Nobody's
did it the
pounding on a trash
old-fashioned
can for
way.
him.
Yeah, he did it the old-fashioned way. Now, but Trevor Bauer did come out and say, just ask me next time,
Yeah.
You don't have to peek, just ask me. So there
I'll
was
tell
a
you.
lot of different things going on in this game. Again, I think for me, the rivalry is really perpetuated with obviously the Padres and their fans and the media. But I'm thinking that the Dodgers need to get on board because they can't come to the next series and be, oh, this is just the Padres. It's just a regular series, because it's not. And now, who have you heard about the Giants lately?
Yeah.
I haven't really heard about the Giants. And where are they? They're playing ball, and they're playing good ball. And
they're in
so
second place.
yeah. And the Dodgers are falling off, and we could very well see the Giants in first. And the Dodgers, I mean, obviously it's 20 games in, it's April, but you don't want this extended, because when you see it night after night, then it gets worried, because even in the game they won it 5-4.
Right. Well, they've lost 6 of their last 8 games. So that's a troubling stat. But it's early. They did that one time at the end of a season where they lost like 10 games.
Yes.
So, it's like we got to calm down a little bit. The one thing that we don't want to see is come June when they go back to San Diego, because they play San Diego. The next 2 times will be in San Diego. And then they finish up the season. So in September, they'll have the Padres again, but both times at home. And they're not the last series of the season. They play Milwaukee to end the season. What I don't want to see is that the Padres are within 6 games of the Dodgers and come in to sweep them. And there's a 6-game swap, because all those games would be worth 2 if the Dodgers lose, if they're still in first place.
Right.
And right now, the National League West only has 1 team under 500 as of Sunday, and that's the Rockies. The Diamondbacks are at 500. Everybody else, the Padres, over 500. They're 2 games over. The Giants and, of course, the Dodgers. So they look the best. Right now, they're the toughest league, the toughest division in the National League, and actually in baseball, really, because all those guys are up there. I think San Francisco has a better record in second place than most teams who are even leading their division have. So before we get to our player of the week, we'll look and see. Dodgers have Cincinnati coming into play for 3, and then they hit the road to see the Brewers, the Cubs, and then they'll stop in to Anaheim to take on the Angels. And rivalry week will begin. Cincinnati, Milwaukee this week, and then the Cubs and Angels next week. So who's your player of the week?
I don't have a player of the week, because I went through and I was so irritated at all of the players. And then I thought, okay, let's scale it back, take some breaths, do some breathing techniques. And I thought, well, maybe this guy,
Did you take your antidepressants?
No, no, I just did some mindfulness techniques.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, well, maybe Dustin May. He looked really good. He had 10 strikeouts, did give up a home run to Tatis, but that seemed to be the soup of the day for every day. And then I thought, okay, maybe Julio, because he had those 11 strikeouts. Couldn't think of anybody on, as I'm watching, that really stood out to me. So this week, I'm going totally off the rails. And my players of the week, I have two, DJ Severe and Dieter Rule.
Okay. Why? What was it that they did that stood out to you other than their excellence every game?
Every game, DJ Severe spinning the tunes. He always has the right mixture of music. Love it when they challenge a call and he's playing one of my favorite songs, Time, by the Culture Club, or Dieter Rule on the organ. They're just awesome. And I'm glad that I can hear them on the broadcast, because that's really what got me through those games was, hey, he's playing this. Oh, I like that song. So I'm going with DJ Severe and Dieter Rule this week.
All right. Your double play combination.
Yes.
Now, I didn't go that route because normally, even when I'm watching it, I don't always catch all of the background. And sometimes I'm doing two things at once or watching 2 or 3 games at the same time. But I did go through, and Julio was one of my potentials, even considered because he hit his home run and he ran it so fast, the noisy one, Sheldon Noisy. But when I looked through it all, like you, I didn't see anybody that really stood out. And I even considered nobody this week. But then I went back and I looked at the games a little closer, and I decided to go with Kenley Jansen as my player of the week. 2 great outings, 2 saves in the week in the 2 games that he pitched, 2.1 innings, gave up no runs, no hits, walked 1, and struck out 4. And it was a kind of like an old time, oh, that's the Kenley that we know. And when he has more rest, he pitches, but he no longer can pitch back-to-back days or even almost every other day. He needs a 2 or 3 day rest to come in, and that's why they got to build up that bullpen. So that is my guy for the player of the week, Kenley Jansen. And of course, if we ever get out of beta testing,
it's close. It is close.
The problem with fast starts is that you expect them to continue on with no issues. Now, that's a little different from a Dodger fast start, because the Dodgers are supposed to be as good as they've been advertised, and they have played that well. The Angels, on the other hand, everybody's always holding their breath about the pitching staff. We know that the position players, the offense, can come through, that there's a lot of potential there. Will they? We don't know. The only one that we can ever seem to count on is Mike Trout, who is having an incredible start to his season. He's leading the MLB in quite a few categories. And then, of course, we lose Trout for a couple of days. And we'll get to that in a little bit. This week, they played the Rangers and the Asterix, and in 7 games, they won 2, 1 in each series. After they've been playing so well.
I wanted to mention about Mike Trout. He has on-base percentage 539 is the top. The top 5 slugging, again, Mike Trout, 820. He's amazing. This is a guy that is just incredible.
And just barely getting comfortable with his swing.
I know, that still makes me
laugh. Imagine what happens when he gets fully comfortable with it. He's right there below Tatis in that he hits a home run every 9.3 at bats. And like you said, he's on base over 50% of his at bats or his plate appearances, not at bats, plate appearances.
Yeah,
so it was tough having him out.
That's
he got
scary
hit.
thing.
He got hit in Houston in the elbow, and luckily he had the pad on, but it still got a contusion, and that kept him. He was supposed to be, that was Thursday, the beginning of that series, and he was in the lineup on Friday, but he was a late scratch, and they just left him out for the rest of the weekend. So the Angels were without Trout and Anthony Rendon. Rendon's still having an issue. I thought maybe he was at home because he's from Houston. Maybe he just didn't want to play, so he could just hang out at, with family or whoever's still in Houston. I don't know if he still has a house there or not.
He's doing honeydew list at the
That's right.
at the house.
The Rangers come in. Of course, the Rangers are at the bottom of the AL West. Like any team, it's like if the Rockies come in, if the Tigers come in, you expect your team, if they've got a better record, to beat them. And when they don't, then you're like, how could you can't beat the Rangers?
The sky is falling.
It is. It's terrible. That whole thing. The season's over. Just write it off. And I wasn't that bad because I've been here with this team before. They'll go through a bad part, then they'll be good, but we'll end up around 500 to end the season. Maybe a game over, maybe a little under, but we're not going to be. We're just going to be average, if that. That's how it'll end up. And in the American League West, they had their couple of days in first place, but their problem is right now is that they're in the same division with one of the hottest teams in baseball, the Oakland A's. We're going to have to deal with them. Haven't played them yet. This week, the Rangers come in. They take 2 of the 3. Part of it because of the AL player of the week this week, Adolis Garcia, who in Anaheim went 4 for 11, batted .364, had 4 hits, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs. For the week, he was .333, 4 home runs, 9 RBIs. So it's a pretty good week for him. He contributed greatly, and the Angels just couldn't do anything with him. And they're having pitching issues as always. Also, the bats go cold. Doesn't matter how good your pitching is. Ask Jake DeGrom. He knows what that's like to pitch out of this world. And now the one thing that we do have is Shohei Ohtani, who has been the 2018 version, what the Angels thought when they signed him. That's what we're getting right now. He's pitching well. He's pitching out of problems. He's hitting incredibly. He's a co-leader for MLB lead in home runs with 7. He even played left field in the blowout the other day versus Houston. So the question is, where are we going with the Angels? Will the pitching staff figure it out? Raisel Iglesias, put your trust in your closer, and he's been giving things up. Him and Aaron Slegers both, allowing a lot of runs. Now, Raisel Iglesias did have a good inning in the final game of the Houston series where, and this is why I said differences in how the weeks end. The Angels beat the Rangers once. They go to Houston and they just get embarrassed, but they're able to salvage one game at the end of it and give us all hope again.
Really, that's all it takes too, is when you have your team that had a loss like the Angels did, and then they come back and they win it, it really does restore that, okay, you guys can do it, and we're going to move on. Yeah.
Reestablish the faith. It's like I just had, when we were talking, when you were saying that, I thought about Sandlot, where Smalls is out in the outfield and he can't catch anything, he can't throw. And then finally, Benny goes out there and says, this is how you throw it. And then says, just hold your glove up. All the other players, all the other guys on the field are just razzing him, and they're all mad at Benny. And then he catches the ball, and Squints is the first one to say, all right, he's okay. And it's that same feeling. You get that Benny the Jet moment, and then you're like, okay, I'm fine. All is not lost. And then once you have a little moment, especially if you have a day off, which the Angels don't have a day off, they're going to play the Rangers again. You can reestablish that. You can say, okay, we're good. We're only 20 games in. We still have time. I think the Angels need to be in the market for pitching, just like the Dodgers do for relief pitching. The Angels, the relievers are hit and miss. I think we need another starter. Quintana's just not going to make it. I don't He may even when he starts to look decent, then he falls apart. We need to do that. Luckily, we didn't sign Odorizzi because Odorizzi faced 5 batters, and I kind of wish he would have stayed in. Not with his injury, of course, because then obviously I want him to stay in because, hey, he can't throw very well. But the Asterix brought in a guy named Kent Emanuel, makes his major league debut, throws 8 2/3 innings. He'd never pitched in the majors before, and he just blew the Angels away. Maybe that's why, because they'd never seen him before. And then, of course, Zach Greinke. He of course had his moments with them. I think the only thing that was, it was ugly. They lost 16-2 in one game. Anthony Benboom, the catcher, went out and pitched for a little bit. Ohtani played left field.
Yeah, Benboom was pretty much just, at this point, it really didn't matter. And he was just batting practice. It was really just lobbing him up there because, yeah, I'm sure Joe was like, hey, you want to go out? Who wants to go? Raise your hand.
Who wants to pitch? And then Ohtani said, can I play left field? Yeah, why not? Go out and play, because it was his idea.
He always wanted to play left field.
Now, there was only one thing that I think in this whole series that was uglier than that loss of 16-2.
I have a feeling I know where you're going with this.
And it's Alex Bregman's new hairdo.
All I can say is either he really had COVID fever and maybe he still has it, but dude, cornrows, no, it doesn't look good.
No, he has cornrows. He's already kind of goofy looking anyway. But with the cornrows, it's ridiculous. And that was the ugliest thing of the whole day. One other Ohtani note, first pitcher to start a game and lead the league in home runs since a guy named George Ruth did it back in 1921.
I will say, you didn't mention, but you had a rookie pitcher come in relief, and that was Chris Rodriguez, who pitched a scoreless inning. I think he had 2 strikeouts. He looked really good. He did get the win in Sunday's game. So that's a positive for the Angels going forward looking at pitching.
Yeah, he's been good so far this season, and he had never been above AA, single A actually, and he made the team this year, and he looked good in spring training, and happy to see that he's still able to hold on and do that. Of course, Mr. Consistency, David Fletcher, leads the MLB in singles. He's got 22 singles this season. Your player of the week last week. Angels have the Rangers this week, and then the Mariners over the weekend. It'll be their first matchup with the Mariners. Player of the week?
So for the player of the week, I did not go with David Fletcher this week, but I went with somebody that he's exactly what we want to see. And he's a guy I really enjoy watching play. And if he center stepped at third base, I might be okay with it. And that's Shohei Ohtani. He's my player of the week. Now, he didn't have like an awesome week. He pitched against Texas and they did win in that game, but he only pitched 4 innings. But he had 7 strikeouts. And in the Sunday's game, he hit a home run, and that really made a difference for the Angels. And so for me this week, it's Shohei Ohtani.
He's definitely becoming a force that we expected, or we hoped he would be, and was built up that he could be. And you figure on a national level, people are talking about him everywhere. When I thought about it, you look around Angel Stadium, he's not, if they traded him, half the fans would leave. There are so many people there that are either Japanese, that are big fans of their fellow countrymen, or others who are they just love Blanca loves him. He's a good-looking, charismatic kid. He's very respectful and humble of the game, and it would be a loss to the Angels if they traded him away.
Well, I know a fan of his that lives in southeastern Utah, a lady who's very dear to my heart, Planet Head's grandmother, Grandma Fumi, and she loves Shohei.
Yeah, he's something else. Well, I once again could have looked across the board and said, well, I could do this. I could have went with Shohei, and I thought, let me do something that I don't normally do, and I tried to look too, because we've talked about this. You can't stand Gavin Lux. He's not the only one, but of your own team, there's always somebody where you're like, oh, not him again. Or, and there's players, I've been to enough games where it's like, oh, I've got to watch them pitch again, or I've got to see him. Why did you bring him up to pitch hit? And the Angels are having some injury issues as well. Both Trout, Rendon out. I think they're both supposed to come back versus the Rangers. We'll talk about that next week. But there's always that guy where you're like, what are we going to get? And this week, my player of the week is one of those guys, Andrew Heaney.
Nice.
He's had he had one start this week, but he's had two back-to-back solid starts. One, the game that I went to versus the Twins, he pitched really well. And then his last outing, 6 innings, 6.1 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 run, struck out 10, walked 0. Was his second good outing in a row. I just couldn't overlook that. Andrew Heaney, you will someday receive the Player of the Week certificate and a SRBB sticker, and be in the running for Player of the Year and an SRBB t-shirt. Spinning, 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 dizzy, dizzy, fall down. It's time to look around the league. Now, earlier we talked about Fernando Tatis Jr. being the NL Player of the Week. I mean, the NL Co-Player of the Week. Now, and why I would be upset if I was Tatis Jr. that I have to share this honor. Because while the co-MVP, the other guy, did a good thing, had a good week, it's nothing compared to what Tatis did. But they still gave him co-MVP of the week, and that's Madison Bumgarner of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, why, in your opinion, would Tatis be mad, Jana?
Well, because Madison Bumgarner was playing in a doubleheader, so that's 7 innings, but he had a no-hitter in 7 innings, but it doesn't count. So why would he be Player of the Week if it doesn't count? Nobody cares. Go sit down, Madison Bumgarner. We don't care.
No, we don't. Maybe it's one of those things where, you know how like they always say you're out playing golf with the big boss, the CEO or the president of a company, or the president for that matter. You always let that person win. Maybe Major League Baseball felt that he's been having a hard time lately. Maybe this will be good for Mad Bum's self-confidence. He's not pitched great. He finally hits his first time ever that he's pitched this much. And this is the thing, though, for Bumgarner and any other player that might do this. They get a complete game if you pitch the whole 7 innings. So that's already in the book, so 7 innings. But shouldn't the rule be, if that's an official game, that's all that matters? Doesn't have to be 9 innings?
I think so. I think you're right with it seems silly to me when I saw that Madison Bumgarner was the co-player of the week, because I thought, wait a minute, MLB is naming him a player of the week, but they're not recognizing, I put quotes, recognizing what he did, so he's player of the week, but they're not giving him credit for it. So it's
Right.
like he took a class at college as a pass-fail, and he happened to pass. Or he audited. That's what it is. He audited the class.
So he didn't get the
and
credit for it. I never went to
Right.
college. I don't know how that works.
So he sat in class because he liked the subject, but he didn't have to do anything to, he could have turned in assignments, and obviously he did. He had 7 innings of no hits. And that made me laugh, because I thought, you're recognizing him as player of the week because of what he did, but you're not giving him credit. And now the rule goes back to when Fay Vincent was the commissioner in 1991. The rule is that, and this is how far back it goes, and from 1990 to 1991, the rule is it has to be 9 innings. But in this case, a doubleheader, MLB has designated the doubleheader 7 innings.
It's a complete game.
As a complete game. So why are you saying, well, yeah, that's great, Madison, here you go, player of the week, but we're not going to recognize it, even though it's our rules, we made the rules? I think it should be a no-hitter.
I think so too. I don't think it's fair that he doesn't get that. He gets a complete game out of it, but he doesn't get the no-hitter. And if not for an error by Nick Ahmad, it would have been a perfect game.
Yeah.
In theory. And yet, even then, if I'm Fernando Tatis Jr., I have 5 home runs in 3 games. How is it that I'm not
the player?
Singularly the player of the week, not NL player of the week. All right. Other things that some people probably are not happy about. Oakland A's. I'm sure they're not happy about it. Their fans aren't happy about it because they were hoping for Moneyball territory.
Brad
20
Pitt,
plus
not
games.
happy.
No, Brad Pitt, not. Jonah
Jonas
Hill,
yeah.
really upset about it. The A's 13-game win streak has come to an end thanks to the Orioles.
Of all teams, the Orioles.
I think it would have been worse if it had been Tigers.
Yeah. I guess if you have to pick.
Right.
I'll go with the Orioles.
The Orioles are at least just 2 games below 500.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I was noticing was that there's not a lot of separation in most of the leagues. Everybody's within 2 or 3 games. There's a few. The bottom of the pile is like the Tigers, the Rockies, and the Twins are the only teams that are like that are way under 500. A lot are in the 400s. Are winning about 40% of their games. These guys are like under 40% wins total. So that's an issue. When I look at the totals, one of the surprises I saw in the league for who's leading their division was the Royals. The Royals have the 2nd best record in baseball right now, just behind the Dodgers.
Which could change as we move along.
Right.
But right now, yeah, the Royals are looking good. They're another team. I mean, if you follow baseball, you're hearing about the Royals, but they're another team that they're just playing ball and they're doing good. They play ball good. Is that obviously I need to go back to college.
Yes, you're an English major, right? Isn't that what your degree is in?
Yes.
Something like that. All of a sudden, I don't feel so bad about not going to college. I think the thing that happens, especially early on in the season, is that there's no pressure on teams like the Royals. They can come out and they can play however they play. They're just loose, relaxed, and whatever happens, happens. If they keep it up, that's when we see teams start to fade is because later on in the season, there's the pressure to continue on. Oh, you've made it this far. Oh, at the All-Star break, you're leading, you got the best record in baseball, or you're the second best, or you're 6 games ahead of the second place team in the Central. And it's like, well, how do we keep this up? And then you get in your head. And that's the problem. Yeah, right now, so the Dodgers, the Royals, the A's, the Brewers, the Red Sox, and the Mets, that's how they line up as the division leaders, with the Mets just being 1 game over 500 as of last Sunday. But see, here's where, when we look at the top 10 teams in MLB total, some of these, like the Dodgers, the Royals, and the A's, are the top 3 teams in baseball. Then the Giants. Then
They're
Milwaukee.
another team. Yeah, I was going to say with the Giants, they're another team. They're just playing ball. They also have Buster Posey back. Buster Posey is hitting .327, has a 1.050 OPS, but they're just up in the Bay playing ball. No, nothing to see here, guys.
That's right. And they're in control right now and could continue to be. I think the one thing with like the Royals is they're supposed to be maybe in some sort of a rebuilding mode. So that's really, surprised a lot of people. Milwaukee, Boston, and then Seattle is up there. And Seattle has been playing well all season. Can they hold it and continue on with it? We'll see. The White Sox after them, and then the Padres, and then the Mets are at number 10. So all these other teams, the Mets are leading their division, but all these other teams have better records.
Yeah. Well, and the Mets were dealt the COVID blues on opening day. So when you look at that, it's always skewed. The East is skewed, their division.
And I wonder what they're going to do. How will the Mets go? They've got a good pitching staff, probably one of the best. They got Lindor, but that doesn't seem to be making that big of a difference.
Yeah, and Carlos Carrasco is on the IL. Not sure when he's going to be back. So right now it's DeGrom is the big story. And even Lindor is not, I guess, making that what the Mets fans hoped, or really probably any fan, if you had a player like that come to your team. And maybe he's just getting comfortable.
Well, it could, but at some point when you're that good, you need to come in. Mookie Betts didn't really need to get comfortable.
No.
He came in, and maybe that's what's going on this year. He came in last year, gave it all, and now he's kind of, because he's not playing like the MVP right now. Don't know why. Don't know what it's going to take.
I don't know. It seems to be a cloud over the entire team there. I do want to mention, you mentioned the Mariners and the Red Sox. They had a series and they split the series, but the first game of the series, the Mariners came back. In 10 innings, they beat the Red Sox 7-3 in 10 innings. The Mariners had more than twice as many runs as their 3 hits. And this is just the 8th time since 1901 that a team has scored at least 7 runs on 3 or fewer hits. So it was exciting game there.
Yeah.
And thinking about the Red Sox, they have 2 former Dodgers, Alex Verdugo, who's doing well, and Kike Hernandez. And I can tell you, there were many times over the weekend watching the Dodgers Padres, and I thought, oh, can't Kike come walking out of that dugout, please? But he didn't.
No, that he did not. You are correct.
And I know this is back to the Dodgers, but I want to mention a spark. When I mentioned Kike Hernandez, he could be a spark plug. Chris Taylor had been on the IL, and he came off the bench in, I think it was probably Saturday. I think it was Saturday's game, and he was the spark that the team needed. So you're looking at a lot of these teams like the Mets, and you've got these two guys, and you need that spark plug. Who's it going to be? One thing, too, is I didn't mention Madison Bumgarner had the no-hitter against the Braves, but the Diamondbacks also swept the Reds. And it's like, what? Is this bizarro world? What's happening here? But they were on point. They were playing and doing what they do.
Yeah, no, that was crazy when I saw that. And it's pretty much driven the Reds into last place in the Central after a big start and having and ruling first place.
Yeah.
They've dropped to the bottom with Milwaukee being on top, as we mentioned just a little bit ago.
One of the big matchups this weekend or over the weekend was Cole and Bieber. So Garrett Cole, Shane Bieber matching up again. And Cole, he just dominated. Between the two pitchers, they had 20 strikeouts. Garrett Cole had 11. Shane Bieber had a measly 9.
9?
That's
it's
it.
over. He's on the decline.
He is. There's no hope for Bieber.
After last week, we were singing his praises because he had struck out how many over 4-game streak, becoming the first to do that.
Yeah.
And joining Nolan Ryan with 48, I think it was in 4 games, and now only 9.
Only 9. I mean, it's such a waste. Like, why did you even bother showing up? So I guess in this series, if you were only looking at Cole and Bieber, Cole is 2-0 against Bieber.
It's something when you have things, that type of a matchup, and both of them have, good games. We've seen that a couple of times. Kershaw and Darvish in that first game were both really solid. It just came, one side or the other that is able to, and sometimes it's not even about the starter. It's the team takes advantage of the bullpen.
Exactly. And can I mention something about you, Darvish? Since we're in around the league and he is not a Dodger or an Angel, there were a lot of reports written and lots of tweets that said, please, Dodger fans, when you Darvish comes and pitches in Dodger Stadium, please don't boo him. And I thought, that is so dumb. I mean, I'm not the type of person that usually boos, unless sometimes I might. But if he gets booed, he gets booed. Why do we need national baseball writers writing columns that say, would you please give him a break? Please don't boo him. He's a good guy.
And
he has
baseball
a family.
Game, if he's so what? Isn't that the thing? It always makes me laugh when I see something. It's like, why didn't this person do this? Well, he has a family. Everybody's got a family. Maybe it's not what you think a family is or what's traditionally thought of, but everybody's got some form of family. Even if they've all died off, you had a family. So yeah. What does that have to do with him? Don't boo him. He has a family. Okay. How many things can we apply that to him? Don't do this because he has a family.
Yeah. I just had to bring that up.
I'm sorry. Don't let him pitch because he has a family.
Right. Don't let him hit. Don't let him sit in the dugout.
Exactly.
I just had to bring that up because that was one of the things that, again, was really, do we really need people, writers, and tweeting out, as a warning or as a, what was it? Please refrain from booing.
Let's go back to the Mets for just a second, because I meant to bring it up while we were talking about them. But DeGrom watch, another shutout, 15 strikeouts, only gave up 2 hits and a complete game. These are becoming more common.
Yes, I've noticed that. And DeGrom is like out of this world. 15 strikeouts. And it's it's amazing what he's doing there. And again, we mentioned the Mets not not doing spectacular, but they have that guy.
Yeah, that's so they know at least once every 5 days. But Taijuan Walker had a pretty good outing, I heard recently. They've got a lot of great pitchers, and Syndergaard is in rehab now, starting to his throwing program and things like that. So he's looking pretty good, and he'll be back. Probably not this season, if so later in the season as he rehabilitates from Tommy John. Another great pitcher so far, John Means from the Orioles, who was the pitcher of record when they stopped the A's in their tracks. He's got a 2-0. He's pitched in 5 games, 2-0 record, a 1.50 ERA over 30 innings pitched, 29 strikeouts, and his whip is under 1.
And that's great for the Orioles, who had no chance of at the beginning of the season, and maybe don't have a chance. They really are rebuilding. You watch that team and you think, who's that guy? Did he just come? Maybe they got him from high school. I don't know. They're just not people I guess but it's fun to watch them play, and they're just another team that's just playing ball and doing what they're doing.
Well, they started off strong. John Means has been a part of that.
Yeah.
It's even Matt Harvey, who couldn't do anything for the Angels, seems to be contributing a bit. The thing that gets me, just tells me that, this year there's been some stories. Trey Mancini, big story, coming back from cancer. There's a lot of the players, though, for the Orioles that, unless you pay attention to them, you just don't know who's there. The one name that always pops up for me with the Orioles is what's his name, Santander, and he pops up to me, and I think he's actually out injured, but he always pops up because for some reason his name just sticks in my head, and I think it's just the name. But could I tell you anybody else necessarily? I know Freddie Galvis went there. And he's also he's injured now just recently. Yeah. So he's on the IL. But when I look through and see who's playing what, who's where, Santander. But I really don't know who they are. I look forward to having a better chance to see them this season, especially, because the Angels will play them at some point. Let's do a little IL list update. Since last week, we could have done a whole show about the IL list. Lance Lynn, finally off. Looks like he's going to start up this weekend, maybe tomorrow, Friday, for the White Sox. And then Christian Yelich, another one that the MRI he had on his back showed nothing. So whatever's going on, they don't think is serious, and that he could have already come off the IL. Not sure when he will. So that's good news for the Brewers.
We got Max Fried from the Braves on the IL. Looks like he might be activated here pretty soon, but he's another one that haven't seen. You mentioned Freddie Galvis, Santander, as you mentioned. Got to say his name again.
They always say it's Santander.
Yeah.
So they that not just because that's the way I was Santander. It's Santander. Santander.
I have to remember that. Our guy that used to be a Dodger, Jocelyn from the Cubs, now plays for the Cubs. He's on the IL. He has wrist tendonitis.
Probably
Mike Moustakas.
A waffle iron injury.
Probably so. Mike Moustakas. Last year he had been on the COVID IL, I guess, with the COVID list that they called it. And now he just has an illness. And they didn't say what. So I don't know what he has, but
I did see non-COVID related illness.
Yes.
Is what they said. But a couple more pitchers to point out. Michael Kopech of the White Sox. 10 strikeouts in 5 innings. He did well. Corbin Burns of the Brewers nearing a record for Ks without a walk. and the Dodgers will probably see him when they go to Milwaukee. At least they're not having to deal with the Padres, but they're dealing with another team that's pretty hot. And then we were wondering about how things would go in the laundry series from last weekend and if anybody would lose a sock in the dryer. But it looks like the Red Sox and the White Sox split the series. So maybe they each lost one sock?
I think that's how it works. I think they each lost a sock into the dryer universe.
And then I was thinking that maybe the Red Sox would have turned the White Sox into pink socks as they won the series.
Yes.
One thing in the last game of that series, the Red Sox won 11-4. Yermin Mercedes, who leads baseball with a .414 batting average, now can add a 9 ERA to his season averages as he pitched in that game.
That's one thing that we are seeing more of. You saw it before, and it's always kind of a joke. Oh, position player, alert position players pitching. But this season, we've already seen, Anthony Benboom, Jake Cronenworth. There's been a lot of guys. I'm trying to think of others, but that have come in to pitch.
That same night that Cronenworth pitched, I think we mentioned this last week, that Astudillo from the Twins pitched
that's right,
to finish that game up. And
with a 46 mile per hour.
Right. He was throwing batting practice too. It looked, everybody, when he threw the first couple pitches, everybody was laughing in there. They didn't know what was going on. I didn't realize when they first put him in that it was who it was pitching. I thought, who's this pitcher? This is not good. Well, it turned out
I can't believe they have him in the bullpen.
Right. What's going on here? He's just throwing batting practice. Yermin Mercedes was relieved by another position player from the White Sox, Danny Mendick, who is a utility man, mostly a middle infielder, who took over and finished the game off. He had a 0 ERA to finish the game.
That is nice. And I know Russell Martin, I'd love to see him back. He could come back, not as a catcher, but we need him in the bullpen for the Dodgers.
Yeah, the Dodgers should be looking at that. I mean, he's 0. I think he still has a 0 ERA.
I think so.
One more injury. I just noticed Hyun-Jin Ryu had a glute strain. I've noticed that a lot of players are having oblique injuries. Is that the new designer cool injury this season? Used to be Tommy John surgery or a torn ACL. Now it's oblique injuries.
I guess so. It must be oblique, the new line by Christian Dior. I don't know.
Well, that's what's
oblique. It's fun to say oblique.
I know. Yeah. Maybe that's why they all have it. It's oblique. Maybe that's not what they really have, but because somebody just likes saying oblique or typing it, it's like, ooh, it's an oblique injury. Oblique. Hey, do you see that? What's coming out of left field?
A jingle? A jangle?
The most annoying song in the history of commercials. And it's been going on for over 10 years.
And people still complain about it.
We noticed this recently, I think especially on Twitter, but a lot of people started talking about the Cars for Kids jingle, the commercials. And most of the commercials for Cars for Kids are all the kids as the band pretending to play the instruments. And it's supposed to be a group of cute kids that are all, and people are just like, we're tired of it.
Can't stand it. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you complain about it. They're never getting rid of the jingle.
That's still Cars with a K.
That's it. And nothing is going to change that. So stop tweeting about it. Stop complaining. Just resign yourself to the fact that Cars for Kids is always going to be that jingle. And you know why? Because you're complaining about it. And now everyone knows about Cars for Kids.
Somebody who didn't know about it went and checked it out. Now, do you remember the first time you ever heard the Cars for Kids jingle?
It was on the radio. I don't know how long ago. It just seems like it's always been around.
Just a part of your life.
And at first, you're like, oh, this is horrible. But now I hear it and I'm like, KARS, Cars for Kids. And I'm singing along with it.
Oh, no. I'm changing. I don't even care what's on another channel. I'm listening. If the next channel comes up is Korean language, I'm listening to Korean for at least the next 60 seconds. Because
I will
I cannot do that.
I will say, if it's the kid singing it, it's okay. But when the deep guy, his voice is weird. That's creepy.
Very first time, and that's exactly why I asked you, because the very first time I heard it, I caught it. It's kind of catchy at the beginning, so I hear the little kid, KARS, Cars for Kids, and then the guy comes in, and my first thought, I'm driving to work, and my first thought was, what's that guy doing with that kid? Why is he in the same room with him? No, get away from him. I was like completely like, somebody's got to save that kid from this deep voice, creepy sounding guy singing about cars for kids. I was just.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Oh, why is it always on every game? Whether you listen on the radio, on TV, there's certain things I know are going to be on there. The creepy commercials with the Dollar Shave Club now. It used to be just they mailed it to you. It was a radio thing. Now you got guys' heads on a shelf who sound worse than the guy with the kid in the Cars for Kids commercial. But you expect certain things. That one. Other commercials, whether it be on the car, whether that you are in the, on the radio but why does this one, of all of them, why does this always play? I'm not any more interested in donating my car with a K to you than I was before you started playing the stupid commercial.
I think this all boils down to Manfred. He said, hey, that sounds like a great company, great organization. We need, as MLB, we need to partner with them. And we need 9 innings of Cars for Kids. So it's Manfreded.
And see, that's the thing. Nobody tells you where the money actually goes. Cars for Kids. Well, I started it. I got 3 kids. You give me your car, donate it so I can sell it off and feed my kids.
It could be. Well, all I can say is for those of you who have complained about this jingle, just get used to it.
Change.org.
Change.org.
Let's get a petition going to stop. I don't want, they can still have their charity. Stop the commercials. I think I would give money or donate a car or my neighbor's car, somebody's car, if it meant never having to hear that again.
I wonder if we should have put a disclaimer, because now anybody who's listening is cursing our names as they have that jingle in their head.
And that'll do it for this week's Sibling Rivalry Baseball podcast.
Remember, you can find us on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com, and on Facebook and Instagram at Sibling Rivalry BB.
We're also on Twitter at Sibling Rivalry BB without the A. Email us, show@siblingrivalrybb.com. We'd love to hear what you think, so subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to our podcast.
Next week on SRBB, the sibling rivalry heats up.
Yep, we're taking the Diamond Lane to the Freeway Series. Hey, I got something to say. Yeah, I got something to say. I said, hey, I got something to say. Hey, got something to say. KARS, Cars for Kids.